Just because the seas are calm doesn't mean you don't need a lighthouse.
That is honestly the perfect way to start this.
Yeah.
Because that quote, it cuts right to the heart of one of the biggest myths in the Agile world.
It really does. The myth that once a team gets mature, they're delivering, they're self-organizing, everything's just humming along.
That somehow the Scrum Master is redundant.
Exactly. The idea that if the boat isn't sinking, well, you don't need a captain, or I guess in this case, a navigator. But we're here to show that the calmness of those seas, that is often the best proof that the lighthouse is working.
We're really looking at the transformation of the role itself. The point isn't that the Scrum Master becomes unnecessary. It's that they evolve. They become something much more powerful, a strategic system sensor, a steward.
Their focus shifts, right? It goes from the really visible stuff, the facilitation, to this quiet, almost invisible work of optimizing the whole system.
And we have a fantastic guide for this deep dive, Matthew Coxall's book, How to Navigate the Agile Journey as a Scrum Master. We're going to be pulling from chapters 2, 4, 6, and 8 specifically because they map out this evolution perfectly.
Our mission today is really to honor that evolution. And we're talking to two groups of people, and you listening might be in one of them. First, the Scrum Masters out there who are doing such a good job that things are calm. And now you're starting to doubt your own value.
Yeah, you're looking around thinking, what am I actually doing all day? Because the fires are all out.
And the second group is the leaders, the managers, who look at that high-performing team and, understandably, start questioning that Scrum Master line item on the budget.
And what we want to show is that the value is absolutely still there. It's it's gone underground. It's become more subtle, more systemic. And it's the very thing that's protecting that high performance from all the organizational drag that always builds up.
Because when a team feels mature, the real work becomes protecting that maturity, doesn't it?
100%. It's about building defenses against friction, against pressure, against just complacency. The role pivots from, policing the process to deep system sensing, invisible leadership, and building trust when the pressure is on.
Okay, so let's unpack that pivot. Coxall lays out a few key shifts. You start with the mechanics.
Right. You start with running the daily stand-ups, making sure it's 15 minutes. But that quickly evolves into something deeper, like nurturing a sustainable pace and making sure that psychological safety is always there, even when a release is going sideways.
And it moves from just enforcing the rituals, like making sure people show up for the retro,
to quietly removing friction points before anyone on the team even knows they exist. It's proactive. It's prevention, not cleanup.
And I think this is the biggest one. The shift from coaching the team on how they work together to coaching the entire organization on what's getting in the team's way.
The scope just explodes outward.
It makes sense. You have to nail the internal stuff first. So let's start there, at that foundation. Let's get into servant leadership and psychological safety, which is all over Chapter 2.
Yeah, and when we say servant leadership, we need to be clear. This isn't some, trendy management buzzword. It's a whole philosophy.
It's an inversion of power, really.
A complete inversion. The traditional model is authority at the top, commands flow down. This flips it and says the leader's primary job is to serve the people who are actually doing the work, to enable them, to protect them.
And that fits so perfectly with Agile values, right? Collaboration, transparency.
It's a perfect fit. A Scrum Master acting as a servant leader is the living embodiment of those values. They're constantly trying to empower the team, to let them own their decisions, and to create that safe space we're going to talk so much about.
So if we're going to make this practical, what are the actual traits? We can't just say be a servant. What does it look like day to day?
Coxall breaks it down into some core behaviors. The first one is empathy. And this is more than just being nice. It's about genuinely trying to understand where your team members are coming from, especially when they're stressed or frustrated.
Which leads right into the next one, which I think is the hardest. Active listening.
Oh, it's so hard. It means hearing what someone is saying without already planning your response. You're not listening to reply. You're listening to understand the root of the problem. That's how you build trust.
And then there's empowerment. This is a big one. It means letting the team make a decision even when you, the Scrum Master, think it might be the wrong one.
Yes, because real ownership, real learning, comes from dealing with the consequences of your own choices. As long as it's not going to sink the ship, you let them learn.
And the last two are stewardship, caring for the team's whole ecosystem, and a deep commitment to growth. You're always looking for ways to help people get better, to advance their skills.
Put all that together, and you see the SM isn't there to solve the team's problems. They're there to create an environment where the team can solve the organization's problems.
Okay, let's make that even more concrete. Give me an example of how that commitment to growth actually plays out.
Okay, perfect example. You have a developer, great at front-end stuff, but you notice they get really anxious anytime a story involves the new testing framework.
Right.
A traditional manager might just give that work to someone else to hit the deadline, but a servant leader sees a growth opportunity. So they quietly arrange for that developer to do a dedicated pair programming session with the team's testing expert.
Ah, so you're addressing the skill gap directly, but in a safe, supportive way. No one's being called out.
Exactly. It's about enabling, not directing. Or take removing impediments, that classic SM duty. Let's say the team's CI/CD pipeline is ancient and slow, and it's a constant bottleneck.
The servant leader doesn't just put a sticky note on a board that says slow pipeline.
No way. They become an advocate. They go to IT leadership, to finance, but they don't just ask for a new server. They frame it as a business case. They say, this old pipeline is costing us 40 developer hours a week in lost time, and our defect rate is up 20%. Investing this much will cut our cycle time in half and save the company X amount of money in 6 months.
That is such a powerful shift. You're translating a technical problem into a business solution. You're using data.
Always.
Okay, but let's push back on one of these. Modeling transparency. You said the SM should admit their own mistakes. I can see some people listening to this and thinking, wait a minute, won't that undermine my authority? Won't the team think I'm incompetent?
That's a great and a really important question. It's all about the type of mistake and how you communicate it. You're not admitting you don't know how to do your job. You're admitting you're human.
So what's an example?
Let's say the SM double-booked a critical stakeholder meeting right on top of the team's only window for a major integration. Instead of blaming the calendar, they just own it. They say, folks, my apologies. I completely messed up the scheduling on this and didn't respect your focus time.
I see. So it's an administrative error, not a failure of judgment on Agile principles.
Exactly. And that one small act of vulnerability does something huge. It tells every single person on the team it is safe here to admit you made a mistake. It kills the culture of perfectionism that strangles innovation.
The book has this great case study that pulls all this together. A team with low morale.
Yes, because the product owner was under pressure and kept bypassing the process, emailing urgent tasks directly to developers. Total chaos.
So how did the servant leader SM handle it?
Methodically. First, listening, not yelling, not confronting. They did one-on-ones with the team to really understand the stress, and the root cause was a loss of control, a feeling of being pushed around.
So they got the data first.
Then they went to the product owner, and even the stakeholder pressuring them. But as a facilitator, they didn't accuse. They showed them the data, the rising defect rates, the missed sprint goals, and explained the impact of those side door requests. They educated them on why a stable system delivers faster in the long run.
And the final step?
Empowerment. They helped the team reclaim control. They facilitated a new kind of sprint planning workshop where the developers themselves negotiated the scope and made the commitment. The change was immediate. Morale shot up, productivity stabilized, all because they felt they owned their work again.
And all of this is in service of creating what Dr. Amy Edmondson calls psychological safety.
The absolute cornerstone of a high-performing team. It's the belief that you can take a risk, you can share a crazy idea, admit you screwed up, or challenge the boss without fear of being punished or humiliated for it.
Without that, everyone just defaults to playing it safe. They protect themselves.
And innovation dies. The indicators are so clear. A developer admits a bug got into production. In a low-safety team, the first question is, who did this? Why did you miss it?
Blame.
Total blame game. In a high-safety team, the first question is, thank you for catching that. How did our process let this slip through? What can we change in our system to prevent this next time?
The focus is on the how, not the who. That's the whole game.
It is. And the Scrum Master is the architect of that safety. They model it, like we said. But they also have to be its fierce protector. If a senior stakeholder starts tearing into a junior dev during a sprint review, the SM has to step in, right there, in the moment.
That takes guts.
It takes real courage. But that single act sends a message to the entire team. I've got your back. This is a safe space.
The practical tips here are so good, it boils down to a simple rule. Ask, don't tell.
Instead of saying you should fix the database first, you ask a coaching question. Given what we know, what do you think is the riskiest dependency we should tackle first?
You're guiding their thinking, not giving them answers.
And that includes letting them make a decision you think is a little off.
Right.
As long as it's not a disaster. You have to. Let them try it. Let them fail in a small, safe way. The learning that happens in the retrospective after that is 1,000 times more powerful than if you had just given them the right answer up front.
So this foundation is set. Servant leadership has built a psychologically safe team. Now they're running the plays, doing the ceremonies, but that's where the next level of challenge comes in.
Yes. Keeping those rhythms, those ceremonies from becoming empty rituals, that's the move into subtle mastery.
So let's look at chapters 4 and 6. Guiding the rhythms, starting with the daily scrum.
The daily scrum, and it's probably the most misunderstood meeting in all of Agile. And it's the first one to go stale in a mature team.
Because its purpose gets lost. It is not, and I'll say it again, it is not a status report for the Scrum Master.
Or for anyone else. It is a 15-minute daily planning session for the developers, by the developers. It is purely for them to sync up and align on how they're going to tackle the day to meet the sprint goal. That's it.
And that's why the classic 3 questions format, what I did yesterday, what I'll do today, my blockers, it just stops working for mature teams.
It becomes a robotic script. People are just waiting for their turn to talk. They're not actually listening or collaborating.
So the key adaptation is to shift the focus from the person to the work.
Exactly. You stop going around the room person by person. Instead, you walk the board. You look at the stories, starting with the highest priority ones. The question becomes, what do we as a team need to do today to get the story moved to done?
That immediately forces a collaborative conversation. It's about flow. And if a deep technical discussion breaks out,
The SM has to be ruthless about that 15-minute time box. You say, great topic. That sounds like a sidebar discussion. You two connect right after this. You protect the purpose of the meeting.
okay, let's talk about the dysfunctions. The biggest one has to be the status report syndrome. You see it when every single person turns and speaks directly to the Scrum Master.
Oh, it's so common. The SM becomes the hub of the wheel. The solution is to actively redirect. The SM can literally take a step back out of the circle and say, this is for you all to help each other. Sarah, who on the team can help you with that blocker? You force the conversation to go peer-to-peer.
But what if the pressure is coming from outside? What if a manager is in the room and they're the one asking for the status update?
That's a coaching opportunity, but not in the meeting itself. The SM needs to take that manager aside later and show them the board, show them the metrics, explain, you can get all the status you need from here anytime. When you ask in the meeting, it changes the dynamic from collaboration to reporting.
You're teaching them a better way to get what they need without harming the team's process.
It's about showing them how they get a better outcome. Now, for the internal issues, like the team member who talks for 10 minutes straight,
He's oversharer. We all know one.
you can't call them out in public. That destroys safety. That's a one-on-one coaching session. You help them practice. You help them learn how to distill their update into just the essential information the team needs to move forward.
And to keep things fresh, the SM has to mix it up. Rotating who facilitates is huge.
It builds so much ownership, and a little bit of gamification can go a long way. Use a virtual spinner online or toss a ball around in person. Anything to break the monotony and keep people engaged.
Okay, so the daily scrum becomes a lean, mean planning machine. That leads us to the other major ceremony, the retrospective. If the daily is the rhythm, the retro is the heartbeat.
I love that. Yes, the retro is the engine of continuous improvement. It's where you turn mistakes and frustrations into actual systemic improvement.
And setting the stage is everything. You can't just jump in. An icebreaker, even a quick one, is so important.
It is. Something like 2 truths, 1 lie, or just asking 1 word to describe the sprint. It gets people out of their technical brains and into a more reflective space. It signals that this is a different kind of meeting.
But the big danger for mature teams is retrospective fatigue.
Ugh, yes. If you use the same what went well, what didn't action items format for the 10th time in a row,
Yeah.
people just check out. They give you the same answers as last time. It's agile theater.
The motions are there, but the meaning is gone.
So the SM's job is to be a master of formats,
Yeah.
to constantly introduce new ways of looking at the sprint that force new conversations.
Let's talk about a few of them from the book. The sailboat is a great visual one.
It's fantastic. You draw a boat. The island it's sailing to is your goal. The wind in the sails is everything that helped you move faster. The anchors are what's dragging you down. And the rocks are the future risks you see. It creates this rich, metaphorical map of the sprint.
Then you have something more structured, like the starfish retrospective.
Which I love because it creates balance. It's not just about complaining. It has 5 areas: start doing, stop doing, keep doing, more of, and less of. That more of and less of is so powerful for dialing things up or down.
And for getting really creative, there's the movie retrospective.
So fun. You ask the team, what was the title of this sprint's movie? You might get The Empire Strikes Back, if it was a tough one. What were the plot twists? What should the sequel be about? It reframes everything and often surfaces insights you'd never get from a standard format.
Or even something as simple as the weather report. Sunny days, storms, clouds. It's a quick way to gauge the emotional temperature of the team.
But no matter what format you use, it is all for nothing without the action imperative.
This is where so many teams fail. They have a great conversation, and then nothing happens.
The SM has to be the guardian of the outcome. You help the team prioritize the issues, maybe with dot voting. You make sure that for the top 1 or 2 items, there's a specific actionable task with a clear owner and a deadline.
And you have to close the loop.
You must. The very first thing you do in the next retrospective is review the action items from the last one. Did we do it? Did it work? That's what builds the culture of continuous improvement. It's not just talk, it's action.
And this is the turning point, isn't it? When the daily scrums are humming and the retros are generating real change, the team's internal engine is finely tuned.
It's running beautifully. And that's when the Scrum Master's job changes completely. Their focus has to shift from inside the team room to the organization outside it.
We're moving into the strategic pivot, system stewardship. This is part 3.
This is where the truly great Scrum Masters separate themselves. The team is optimized. The new bottlenecks aren't inside the team, they're at the boundaries between your team and legal or security or marketing.
And this is where Chapter 8 brings in the wisdom of Kanban, even for a Scrum team. The focus moves to flow management.
We stop looking at just the team's velocity and start looking at the entire value stream, from idea to delivery.
Kanban gives us some really powerful tools for this, but let's focus on the biggest one for a mature team, WIP limits, work in progress limits.
This is probably the single most powerful and most counterintuitive lever a team can pull. You actually get faster by starting less work.
It fights against that corporate culture of busyness equals productivity. That idea that everyone needs to look busy and be juggling 10 things at once.
And the SM has to coach the organization on why that's a myth. Every time you switch tasks, you lose time and focus. By limiting the amount of work in progress, you force the team to collaborate on finishing things, which dramatically reduces your cycle time.
You finish faster because you focus better.
That's the mantra. When a developer says, I'm blocked, so I'll start something new, the mature SM coaches them to ask a different question. How can I help unblock what's already in progress? Who can I help?
And you back this up by creating clear policies. It's not just about having a to-do, doing, done board.
No, you need explicit agreements.
Yeah.
What does ready actually mean? What are the criteria for a story to be pulled into development? What is our definition of done? When these things are crystal clear, it eliminates so much ambiguity and friction.
And that clarity lets the SM hunt for the real enemy of a mature team. Invisible friction.
Yes, the dysfunction isn't loud anymore. It's not people yelling in meetings. It's a whisper in the data. And the SM's job is to make that whisper loud and clear.
You do that with metrics? Not velocity, but flow metrics. Cycle time.
The time from when work starts to when it's done.
And lead time?
The time from when the request was first made to when it's delivered to the customer. And also throughput, how much work actually gets finished in a week.
These are the health indicators of the whole system. So if your team's average cycle time suddenly jumps from 10 days to 18 days...
The SM doesn't go to the team and ask, why are you working slower? They go to the data and ask, where in the system are those extra 8 days being spent?
And they might find that, for example, everything is getting stuck for 4 days in code review.
But then they dig deeper and find out it's not the team's fault. It's because the security department just implemented a new mandatory review process and didn't tell anyone.
A systemic impediment.
And now the SM has the data to go to the head of security and have a strategic conversation. Not, you're slowing us down, but your essential new process is currently adding 40% to our delivery time. How can we collaborate to make this smoother? It's coaching the system.
The book has a shocking example of this. The retrospective that found a ticket had been sitting in the awaiting feedback column for
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
It's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the team's fault. It was a system failure. There was no agreement with the stakeholder on how quickly they needed to provide that feedback.
So the SM's fix wasn't just to get that one ticket reviewed.
No, they fixed the system. They created a new policy, a mandatory 15-minute feedback huddle every Friday where stakeholders had to clear out that column. It was a simple systemic change that had a massive impact.
That is the very definition of coaching across boundaries. The mature SM is coaching legal, compliance, sales. They're teaching the rest of the organization how to interact with the development team effectively.
They become facilitators for the entire organization, breaking down silos, making sure a request for, say, new database credentials doesn't sit in a queue for 2 weeks and derail sprint.
Which brings us right back to that idea of invisible leadership.
It's quiet work. It's looking at metrics. It's having those tough conversations with other department heads. It's protecting the flow of value. It isn't loud. It isn't flashy.
It's the lighthouse. It's quietly scanning, signaling the dangers, and making sure the seas stay calm.
Exactly. That quiet vigilance is what makes the whole system sustainable.
So as we wrap up, this journey is pretty clear. The Scrum Master role evolves constantly.
It has to. It starts with that foundation of servant leadership, of building that psychological safety and trust.
And with that trust, you can then master the ceremonies, the rhythms. You keep the daily scrums and retros alive and valuable, fighting off that agile theater.
And once that internal engine is purring, you make the big strategic pivot. You become a steward of the entire system, using flow metrics, cycle time, WIP limits to find and fix that invisible organizational friction.
So let's leave our two audiences with a final thought.
For the leaders out there, if you're looking at a calm, high-performing team and wondering if you still need that Scrum Master, remember the value of invisible leadership. The absence of chaos isn't a sign of redundancy. It's proof that someone is working tirelessly, strategically, to keep the system healthy.
And for the Scrum Masters who are maybe feeling a little redundant because the fires are all out, your value hasn't vanished. It's just evolved. It's become more subtle, more strategic, and honestly way more powerful. The real work is never done.
The pursuit of a better system is endless. You're the guide on that journey.
Exactly. I mean, if the entire goal of Agile is continuous improvement, how could the guide for that improvement ever become redundant? So I'll leave you with this to think about. What friction points in your organization are currently invisible to your team, but visible in your data? And how can you use that data to bring them into the light and turn a quiet problem into your next strategic win?
That's the real deep dive.
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Farewell.